This podcast is brought to you by, well, you, Mom and Dad. Thanks for the cumulative 67 years of patience, love, and incredible parenting you've given to the three of us. Just think, with that amount of effort, you could raise a set of ventuplets to just over the age of 3. Or, if you want to get a little weird, enough to raise a single person to an age even older than you. Maybe don't think about that last one too much. Welcome to Little, Middle, and Biggle. I'm your middle brother, Joshua.
I'm your little brother, Andrew.
And I'm your biggle brother, Noah.
And we're the ones who will try our best to answer the little, middle, and biggle questions we have in life. So here's how this will work. We each bring a question, either little, middle, or biggle, in scale, and we'll each take a shot at answering it. Each episode will rotate through who brings what size of question, but to start off, we've each brought a question corresponding to our brotherly size. So that means that you get to go first, Andrew. But just as a side note before we get started off, pass is a perfectly acceptable, if unfortunate, response in the case that any of us doesn't want to answer. No questions asked. All right? Yay.
Yay.
So, Andrew, what's our first question of the day?
Our first question is pretty small. I didn't know how small to go, but it's just kind of a memory I know we all have at some point in our lives, which is, what is the story of when we stopped believing in Santa?
Ooh. That's cutting deep. Okay. Would you do the honors of going first for us?
Sure, I'll go first. I had been doubting for a long time. This was probably about 7th grade. And it was kind of in the back of my mind that I was like, oh, Santa's probably not real. Which I've realized 7th grade is kind of late to be having this realization. But anyways, Tim showed up at the front door. It was about Christmas time. And Dad came and sat down next to me. And I mean, Tim had come in. He was like in the bathroom or something. And he sat down next to me and he put his arm around me and he said, "We need to talk."
Oh, that always bodes well with Dad.
Uh-huh. And he said, "I think it's time that we told you that Santa's not real, but that he's represented by the love and happiness that we have in this family. He is real in a way." And that was kind of sad, but I had been expecting it for so long that it didn't even hit me until like a week after Christmas, and I was kind of sad.
I remember that Christmas. You were super sad after Christmas that year.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I did not realize that's what it was.
That was what it was.
Also, that is the most dad explanation of all time.
Yeah, it's also pretty Disney, if you ask me. That sounds like something that would be at the end of Polar Express, or I don't know.
Disney Dan.
God. For me, my whole fairy tale creature thing kind of fell apart in 4th or 5th grade, maybe. In the St. Andrew's locker room, of course, everyone gets to talking outside of the watchful eye of all the St. Andrew's faculty. And somebody mentioned, "Oh my gosh, Gordon McCormick, you still believe in Santa?" And I was like, what? And so they were giving Gordon this horribly hard time about believing in Santa. And I realized, oh wow, I'm so on the far end of the bell curve of this. Like, I need to catch up. And so that year, for all of the major holidays, Easter and Christmas, and even, I think I lost a tooth that year or something, or I had a tooth pulled or something. So for when the tooth fairy came, I asked for signatures of all of these creatures. And of course, cross-referencing them, realized they all looked exactly the same. And also, surprisingly, like Mom's handwriting, just in fancy pen. So that was a bit of a giveaway.
That is a very Joshua way to empirically determine whether those mythical creatures are real.
I want data, dang
Yeah.
it. Data.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Noah, what's yours?
So mine, Uncle Bentley was the culprit. We were at the house on Windridge, and it was, you remember that like Santa tracker thing, the website?
Oh yeah. I totally
yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, and they had like the little video of like the F-16s or whatever, like chasing Santa's sleigh through the sky, and which in retrospect was just very badly animated. So I went over there and he's like, "Here, you want to help me find it?" And so we're like looking it up, and he's like, I figured I'd let you help me since, you probably already know about Santa. And I'm like, what?
Bomb dropped.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess it wasn't that surprising. And it didn't really bum me out as much either. I think what bums me out more than anything was just like really whenever Andrew found out, because then like Dad and Mom were a little bit bummed, and I just remember being like, no, but it's fine. I mean, it's still the same thing, right? It's just that you're not fat with a beard.
Yeah.
But
also, like, we don't have to worry about doing the cookies and milk and carrots and stuff. Because, that was always... I mean, when I was little, that was super exciting. But then once I started getting older, and then Andrew was still clinging on, it was like, oh, gosh, I just want to go to bed, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I was really relieved when, Andrew, you finally verbally acknowledged that Santa was not real, because I could then sort of give up the ghost myself. And you never experienced this, but it is a little bit exhausting pretending that you believe in Santa for a younger sibling.
Yeah.
At least from my perspective. I don't know. Noah, did you have the same experience?
I don't know. I don't remember ever like thinking it was really easy. I don't remember thinking it was really hard either. I don't know. I really don't remember thinking about it much at all, actually.
Okay. I do remember one time, this was in like 4th or 5th grade actually, right around the time that my faith finally shook and collapsed. But I walked into your room and I just flat out asked you, Noah, do you believe in Santa? And do you know what you did? You just bald-faced lied. You said, yeah,
Really?
I believe in Santa, when you're like a freshman in high school. So I understand why you did. But
yep, that's the kind of thing that makes me realize you guys are awesome brothers for not spoiling things like that for me. Like, I cannot think of a single thing that I'm like, oh, I believed in this until my brothers told me it wasn't real. At least that was a good thing.
Aw,
that does sound like a really standard brother thing to do, too. To be like, like giving you a hard time for believing in Santa or whatever.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
totally.
Yep.
Me and Josh are pretty darn great.
Yeah.
Well, enough bragging on ourselves. I will go ahead and move on to the middle question for you all. If you could transfer all the hours that you've spent working towards some goal and replace it with work towards a different goal or hobby, what would you do instead? So I'll go ahead and answer first. For me, it would be piano. Looking back, if I could take all of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours that I spent not just practicing piano and not just going to lessons, but agonizing about practicing and going to lessons. Oh, there were many, many a day that I lost doing that. Like just lying on the piano bench, dreading practicing. So if I could go back in time, erase all of that, and replace it with just creative writing, I would so do that. Because looking back now at like the things that I've written, even if like they aren't things that I could in good conscience let see the light of day, there are still points in them where I feel like I can sort of extract from what I've written and use that and reuse that. And I don't know, I think that even the worst pieces can still be salvaged with a good bit of revision and editing, as long as you are still enjoying the core idea. So I think having spent those many hours finding my creative writing voice and stuff, and just generating new material would have been just as intellectually stimulating and just as much of a creative release, much more, in fact, than piano was ever for me. Yeah, so there's my answer. Sorry, Mom and Dad.
See, yeah, you said mom and dad, and I've realized, well, realized is the wrong word, somewhat suspect that us being in piano and cello, I mean, was definitely like an important thing for us growing up to be in music, but they also really liked hearing us practice. I was talking to Dad the other day. This is the dad special, I guess. And he was saying how much he misses us just playing on the piano, and that because I know, Joshua, you have told him that you wish you could have been writing instead of playing piano, and he said he wishes you didn't view it as such a time sink that you just got nothing out of.
I mean, if I don't know, maybe if I had dedicated it to myself earlier when my brain was still like a lot more malleable, and then I could have really gotten the mastery level, like the sort of musical fluency, maybe I would have enjoyed it a little bit more, because then later on down the line it would not have been so much of a poor return on investment as far as hours put in per successful hour of performance gotten out of it. But at the same time, it's also incredibly hard, maybe just for me. I think Andrew and I have talked about this in the past, but to have the piano right in the center of the living room. And I don't know if you felt this way with cello, Noah, because cellos are a little bit more mobile than pianos.
True.
But like, you have no option other than just to totally 100% suck at this thing that is supposed to be like an emotional outlet for the first like few hundred, maybe 1,000 hours that you do it. And every time you bring home a new piece, you know that it's just going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
And that everyone is going to hear it. Maybe that's prideful of me, but that doesn't change how I feel.
Yeah, and what you said about emotional outlet, it very much is an emotional outlet to go and play the piano, because at least once you know a piece well, and you can kind of play around with how it feels, it's kind of like you're exposing yourself to the people listening.
Oh, totally. Totally. And so then when you just suck at it, then it's like, it just feels gross, honestly. It feels gross and tense, at least from the performer's perspective, when that performer is me.
And me. And parents listening, we know that you guys have totally different views, but these are the views that we have that cannot be wiped out of our head.
Yeah, we're the ones doing the music making, dang it.
Yeah.
You may have paid hundreds and hundreds for lessons, but whoops. Well, moving on. Noah, what about you?
I don't know if there's anything I would just completely eliminate to replace with something else, but I think so. You guys obviously you remember Little Big Planet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We remember Little Big Planet.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think if I like at a much younger age, instead of just like playing a bunch of video games, had like kept playing, but had also like picked up 3D graphics and like coding and stuff earlier, I think that would have been really cool. because I mean, I enjoy it in a lot of the same ways, but then it would have been like it's the same way now. I guess it's like a skill that I can use and like do cool stuff with, but it would have been fun to have gotten a start on that even earlier. Yeah, I think that'd be my best answer. I don't know if there's anything else that I would just completely, like, any big activities I would completely cut out. And like,
You still do cello?
I think I actually. So interesting thing about that, I was just thinking as you were talking about piano and all that. I actually have started playing again recently. There's a violin and a viola at the climbing gym that we've like played a couple times and are doing like the Game of Thrones theme and just some pop songs and stuff. Nothing like crazy, but just like to play. And then also I got out the old electric guitar and have been learning to play on that just because, suddenly I have lots of free time and, I can't just sit around.
That is awesome.
So yeah, it's like, it's kind of cool to have that random skill to just like pull out, like it's not immediately as easy, but you just like pick it up really quick. And I don't know, it's been fun to try. I think now that you mention it, that is a good point. I would probably spend a bit less time on cello, at least until college, whenever we started like really playing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I'd trim down various activities. It would be really hard for me to pick anything that I would want to just cut out.
Okay. So going back to your point about wanting to start with the 3D graphic and coding stuff earlier, do you think that, I know that coding, especially the language for that, changes like every week. There are so many coding languages, and it is radically different now from what it was 10 years ago. And I presume that 3D graphics is the same way. Like Skyrim does not look the same as the original Legend of Zelda by any means. So do you think that really would have been all that useful?
I think it would have. Just having done it for several years, like the whole world of 3D graphics and coding and everything is just bigger and bigger and bigger and keeps growing and evolving, but you kind of like ride it as it goes. Like there's the stuff that I learned like 8 years ago for how to make particles or objects or whatever, like how to model things. It's like they're sometimes like better methods now, but they're all based on the old methods, which are based on the older ones and so on and so forth. So I think it'd still be useful, and it'd be cool too. Like it'd be useful. And then for coding, the concepts of coding and like the way that you think are similar in a lot of ways, especially with like the really more powerful coding languages.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like if I had like done it as a child or something and like stopped in high school and part of college and picked it back up, it would have been wildly different.
Cool.
At least to my limited understanding.
Anything to add, Andrew?
I don't know. That made me think of 1984 because I just finished reading 1984 for school, and it's still present in my mind. And they have the Newspeak, and like the children are taught on Newspeak, but then there are the Newspeak dictionaries coming out like every year or whatever.
Yeah.
So
it's just weird, right?
Yeah. But like if you are learning it from a younger age, it would kind of be easier as you were older because it's more deeply ingrained. Even if you take a break for a while, you still know like the flow of the language. Is that how it is with coding?
Yeah. Good analogy.
Cool. Well, Andrew, what's your activity that you would cut out, and what would you replace it with?
I've been thinking for a while. I don't know if it would be piano or if it would just be like random activities like Legos or, probably not Legos. Legos are awesome.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to not stop playing cello. I think piano's awesome, but I think cello is awesomer.
I completely forgot you even played cello.
Yeah, and it was very fun. I think I stopped because I was starting Amarillo Boy Choir, and boy, was that a mistake. But like if I had kept with cello, and even if I had just kind of kept it on the back burner for a while, if I had done that in high school instead of like golf, I think that would be so awesome to have the cello skill.
Okay, so here's the question. Would you replace golf with cello?
Oh, I mean, that's very hard because I have like a lot of my high school friends stem from golf, which is really weird to think about. But I don't really value what I learned in golf. I mean, there wasn't really much that was like a bigger apply this to life sort of thing.
You didn't learn any great philosophical underpinnings of the universe while you were
really
swinging the golf club.
No.
Sorry to hear that. One thing this has made me think though. So I think maybe one of the reasons why I disliked piano so much, and maybe Andrew, why you are swinging a little bit more towards cello, is that like piano is inherently non-collaborative. Like if I could go be in like a piano quartet, if that was a thing, and like we all got together and we banged along on the keys and we were like, oh man, this is awesome, we can play like Game of Thrones and pop music and stuff, I would so be into that. If I could make friends via piano instead of really just like make a bunch of people think that I was snooty and preppy with piano, that would be so incredible. But instead, all piano ever did for me was sit me down in the living room alone, and then later on down in the practice rooms of Trishman at Hendrix, you know, breathing in mold and asbestos and fleas and like, yeah, and all of that for literally less than 5 minutes of performance time cumulatively in my entire college career.
It's definitely a nice feeling of self-accomplishment once you've like really mastered a piece. But I'm going to change my... Well, okay. I think if I could totally just go back and rewrite my music career, I think I would have gone with cello instead of piano, and then like guitar. Just some basic guitar lessons, because there have been so many times when I'm like, oh, I could do this song for this audition, but I can't find the karaoke track online or whatever.
Oh, yeah. And then could, if you had the guitar, you could just,
just learn the basic chords or whatever.
Yeah.
That, and there is nothing sexier than a guy with a guitar.
That's
at least
true.
in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, they steal them all.
So true.
Sorry, Libby.
Well, Noah, would you like to give us our big Biggle question for the day?
Biggle. Sure. I'm gonna. It's like a fairly simple one, so like, or kind of a general one, I guess. So feel free to answer it however you want, and ask follow-up questions and go in depth or whatever you want to do. But the question is, what makes you happy?
Happy is such a funny word.
It is.
Okay, you go first. And if you don't mind, could you give your definition of happy too?
Happy.
Just so that we're kind of on the same page.
Sure.
Taking a poop.
Yes. I mean, the feeling right after you really needed to go and you didn't have a bathroom, and then suddenly like you have access and you run, and like just after that sweet release, like that's happiness right there.
But no, see, I think that is relief, which is like tangentially related to happiness, but at the same time.
Well, no, I am genuinely happy when I poop, because sometimes I don't need to poop and then poop. I go sit on the toilet and think, okay, time to poop, so that I can be happy.
I have never had that experience in my life.
Now I do it all the time.
That's why you're always in the bathroom.
Yep.
Okay.
So okay, let's think of a better definition, or a different definition.
You can come
Maybe
up with it
like,
as you go along if you want, like as you give your answer. If the answer itself elucidates what happiness is for you, then all the better.
yeah, oh, man, I don't know. I hadn't thought of like the actual definition. I guess like like you are happy would be like content, and like you feel good. You feel good about what you're doing, or you feel good about where you are, or you're just having a good time. I don't know. It's a very, I was thinking a very general definition of happy. And then like if there are different types of happy, like, pooping is a relieved happy.
Certainly.
Yeah. So if there are different types of happy, and you guys, achieve happiness of different types in different ways, then there can be multiple answers. But anyways,
Okay, so what is it that makes you happy?
now that we've described different ways of happiness and pooping for like 10 minutes, I would say the biggest thing that makes me happy is making other people happy. Like, I know that sounds cheesy and lame, but whenever...
And the crowd goes, "Aww."
Oh, no, but, well, I mean, like, it's most fun to do in like some crazy way. Like doing the gnome costume, like all the random, like just random other people, random little kids and everything that were, and adults that are little kids inside that were like running up like, this is awesome, can I have a picture with you and everything. Like that was probably one of the best parts of the day. And then there were people that came up afterwards. They were like, hey, just wanted, like this one couple came up and was like, hey, just wanted to let you know, like, you guys are like a part of our story here now. Like, we'll always remember the gnomes. You like made this all the better just for being here. And that was like super cool. It's just nice to make other people's days better. And then if I'm like having a bad day and I want to be happy, my solution is usually to like, ignore whatever is making me unhappy in order to go like make someone else's day better. Like, as soon as there's an opportunity and I see it, then I like jump hold on them, like, let me help you. And they're like, okay. But then it makes me feel better, and it's like useful. And I don't know. I guess that's my answer. If we're going for a serious one, pooping is also nice though.
Yeah.
No, I'm down for the serious answer, given the alternative. So, okay, and just for anyone who might not know and need the reference point, Noah recently made a gnome costume and went to like a Renaissance festival or something.
Oh yeah, of course, details.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, he doesn't just live in a gnome costume.
He doesn't just live in a gnome costume. He is a gnome.
I am a gnome. I live in a gnome cottage.
So, okay, here's a question to follow up on that question. So do you think that if you lived just like in total isolation, would happiness be impossible for you?
I think it would be very, very difficult. I think at first it would not be bad. Like I kind of like isolation at times. Like whenever Andrew and I and Libby went up and camped at that one place, and I like went and I just sat on a rock and like looked at the mountains for probably a solid 45 minutes. Like that was really cool. But then as soon as I started having a bad day, it'd be really hard for me to like get the upswing, back. Because I mean, I don't know. I'm a very, very people oriented person, I guess, for better or for worse.
Gotcha. What about you, Andrew? Do you think you could be happy in isolation?
That's what I was just thinking. I don't know, because I think what makes me happy is having something that makes me feel kind of confident. Whether it be like having fun playing a video game, or rock climbing, or making a mark on other people, like Noah was saying. I think on an island, though, my mind immediately went to an island when you said isolation.
Also, brief pause. Interesting, like tiny follow up question would be, where does your mind immediately go when you think of isolation? But
yeah,
because mine was like the mountains. and yours is an island.
I was thinking nuclear shelter in Siberia.
Nice.
Okay.
Creative. All right.
Yep.
Anyways, sorry, Andrew, continue.
I think it would be possible because I could still think, wow, I built this house out of palm trees. I am awesome.
Yeah, that
But
would
at
be
the same
pretty cool.
time, like, awesome kind of loses its meaning when there's no one else to judge.
Well, yeah.
You know?
I mean,
like,
I don't know. It could still be awesome in and of itself, I would say. Maybe. It'd just be less exciting.
I don't know. Something like, is something beautiful if it's never appreciated? You know?
I think so. Do you mean like someone makes something and then no one ever looks at it? Or do you mean like if there's a place on Earth?
Okay, so either. If there's this incredible, beautiful flower that blooms only on the opposite side of the Earth's crust, because that's where we are right now, mentally. If that is if you were to bring that up to the surface and everyone would unilaterally agree, yes, this is more beautiful than any flower we've ever had. If it is always on the bottom of the Earth's crust, it's like, does that even matter? Is it still beautiful? And then I don't think so. Like, applying this to what we're talking about with happiness, like, and, being awesome or something, I never feel awesome. And maybe this is a character flaw of mine, but I do not think that I've ever felt awesome about something that I know will have no effect on anyone else or never be seen by anybody else. Like whenever I draw something that is not trash, which is an achievement in and of itself for me, I'm never like, oh, sweet, that is awesome because I did it and I see it. I think, oh, that is awesome because I did it and other people will see it and I can then show it to them and sort of, I don't know, maybe share my creativity, share whatever else it is. But I don't think that I could ever feel awesome if I was if I just built a cabin in my bomb shelter in Siberia, knowing that its only purpose was for me and that I would be the only person who ever saw it or used it.
I don't know. I disagree with that. Sometimes I make things and I'm like, wow, I made this. And I feel really good about it and it makes me happy.
I think
maybe
Andrew,
that's just a difference in between us.
I think just knowing both of you guys, Andrew is very much like, yes, I am awesome. And Joshua is like not as accepting of his own awesomeness, even though you are both superbly awesome.
Tell me I'm awesome. Please tell me I'm awesome.
Like, I don't know. It's always interesting to hear y'all's, reactions to your own creations and achievements and everything. Like, because they're both pretty crazy. I mean, like, just, Joshua, you're about to, probably go off to med school. You're like, you've done work as like a medical translator. I mean, I don't know. You've done a lot of cool stuff. And Andrew is like learning how to do flight lessons and everything, or like how to fly a plane, and about to go off to college and all that. And I mean, again, he's learning how to fly a plane. He's not even in college yet, which everyone thinks is awesome, by the way, that I've mentioned it to. And
thank you guys.
Yeah. And Andrew's reaction is like, just, yes, this is awesome. This is super cool. And Joshua's reaction is like, I guess I'm okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, maybe it's a character flaw. But anyway, so I kind of interrupted. Did you ever give an answer for what makes you happy? We definitely talked a lot about.
Oh yeah, I think my answer was just things refined. It is things that I think are interesting or make me feel confident or make me laugh in the grand scheme of things.
Okay.
I'm all about me.
Man, okay. This is gonna be general, very general.
Oh yeah, that was the
I
idea.
think I'm maybe kind of a mix of you two guys because my first thought was things that are just unquestionably positive choices. Like, I love the feeling of being productive in whatever way. As anybody who has ever spent 5 minutes with me knows, if I can spend those 5 minutes being productive, I am infinitely happier than if I've spent those 5 minutes scrolling through Instagram or smile.amazon.com or just sitting, God forbid. But then I also started thinking about like the times in my life when I have just felt like on cloud nine. Those are all collaborative experiences. Like the some people talk about getting like a performer's high, and I kind of did when I was in theater and choir, but I think that really just because I was exposed to it at such a young age and it just became sort of blasé. I never really experienced that to its fullest, at least in my conscious memory. But when I think of like a performer's high, the closest thing I can come is when I was teaching in Spain, teaching English, and like when I was up on stage, as it were, as a teacher, and I got to interact with the students and everything, I I just like turned on. It was an incredible feeling to know that I was being productive, not just in an individual sense, but being productive in a way that benefited another person. And like, I think maybe that's even where my passion for writing and stuff comes from, because as I'm, in the middle of finishing up the rough draft of this book, like I'm thinking to myself, wow, I cannot wait until some other person gets to explore this the way that I have. That is so exciting to me. So, if my answer can be two answers, I will say one, things that are productive and have a clear positive impact on myself, and also two, collaborating with others in a way that is also equally productive in their own lives and stuff. Because like even the things that are individual, like if I go for a run or something and I'm thinking, okay, wow, this run really helps me on my train towards a half marathon or whatever. I'm not doing that thinking I want to run this half marathon just for myself. Like when I get to the finish line, I don't look down at my own body and think, sweet, way to go, you. I look to the crowd and I'm like, yeah, cheer me on. And that's, wow, I only realized saying that out loud how horrible that is. But that's reality, so take it or leave it, I guess.
I don't think
Yeah,
I don't think that's horrible, but go ahead.
I felt pretty awful saying what I thought my definition of happiness was, but I mean, when it comes down to it, I can't change what other people think or that kind of thing, so I focus on if it's making me happy.
I guess you did write that whole essay for your college application about like who cares what other people think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
Joshua was my editor for those in question.
Yeah, Joshua was a good editor.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
It's,
I do
it's,
writing sometimes.
Yeah, it is very convenient for your less eloquent brothers.
Yes.
Speaking of less eloquent, as we bumble our way to the close of this podcast, anyone else have anything they wanted to add?
Yeah, quick observation. You say your definition, Joshua, of happiness is being productive and making an impact on others. And I don't know if you already explicitly said this, but it seems like you cannot... Happiness for you is not making an impact on others without you being productive yourself. You have to be productive yourself.
Well, I mean, how can you make an impact on others if you're not being productive?
Just like, well, example that comes to mind for me is like spending time with family, just kind of sitting and talking to them, no matter the conversation topic. I don't mean this as an attack on you by any means.
No, I get what you mean.
But
yeah, I get that too. Like,
yes.
I mean, just not like I get what you're saying, and also I get how Joshua feels about it too. I mean, it's it's maybe easier for you and I to like just sit around and chat some, but it is harder sometimes to just do that for a whole day, like with family or friends, than it is to like do something where like, hey, this is a cool project we're doing together, or like we're going and like having an experience together or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, this is making me totally rethink what my happiness source is. Measurable progress and definitive results, with a little asterisk that says even better if with others.
So in other words, like EverQuest.
Like what?
Like EverQuest,
EverQuest, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, yes. That is what my definition of happiness is. EverQuest.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah, no, I mean, totally, because then I was making a contribution to this community that I really loved, but at the same time, I was improving myself, and like I got to explore this world along with other people. So
yeah, that's
it.
Maybe your definition of happiness is what it is because you played so much EverQuest.
No, see, I think that was hardwired. I think that I had been searching for that my whole childhood, and then I found EverQuest, and I was like, oh my good Lord. And it was just this euphoric surge of everything I had ever wanted. And yeah. And then we all know how that turned out.
Yeah.
So many hours spent. You all will note that I did not choose EverQuest as the thing that I had spent many, many hours doing and replacing with something.
Indeed, I totally thought that was going to be it.
Oh man, no. Oh, I loved that. That brought me so much momentary joy and instantaneous joy. And like that carried me through so many bad days. Just knowing that like, okay, even no matter how bad this school day is going, no matter how much these teachers are getting down on me about not doing my homework because I stayed up too late playing EverQuest, at least I'll have more EverQuest to play when I get home at night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other final thoughts?
Noah and I don't know if we've told you this, but we have a checklist on whether or not you are happy.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Noah, would you like to say the checklist?
I have never felt so psychoanalyzed in my life.
A checklist on whether or not Josh is happy. Remind me of this.
The has he slept? Has he peed? Has he eaten?
Oh yes, of course.
In that order?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think happy. The happiness might be. It's like a different definition of happy. It's like a contented happy. It's a not unhappy.
Physically capable of being happy at that very moment.
Yeah. Potential to be happy. Yeah, that's right. Has he slept? Has he peed? Has he eaten? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Because if you haven't done any one of those three, you are empirically not happy.
Yeah, I mean, definitely so. Yeah. Oh man, it's like, yeah, those. So like, if my happiness is a light bulb, any of those things just like snips the wire connecting me to the circuit. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Do you like that we just sit around and psychoanalyze you, Joshua?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. What do you think I do all day?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Well,
I love the hammering that's going on in the background.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun to edit out.
This episode is sponsored by loud banging noises.
We're not
in
doing
the...
that. We'll see how that works out. This podcast is created by all three of us, written by none of us, and edited and produced by me, Joshua. Hopefully, it's also listened to and enjoyed by you, but no pressure, hey? So join us next time as we unravel more of the world's big questions. Or maybe just get tangled up in them. We'll see how things go when we get there. Love, thanks, and T-Rex hugs from all of us. We couldn't have done this without you. Say bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
I knew someone was going to do that.
So do we keep recording? Do we stop? We stop? Poop.